Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about how to create user story and what we call epics and user stories in software development today. It's going to be less coding today and more showing you how do I create user stories myself. Everyone creates a user story differently. Every company and industry uses different tools. For example, I write user stories in GitLab for my current company. Other companies use Jira, for example, or Notion to write out their user stories. So today I have this app that I built in the weekend, kind of looking at the other YouTube videos, and I built it in Next.js and with the library ps5.js, and I can link the video that created this flower here, and the app's called Blooming for You. So the idea of this app is that users will be able to custom create a flower or many flowers, hopefully, when I get time to update it a little bit more, and we can sort of manipulate, see if the curves work. Curvature is kind of breaking. It doesn't really work too well there. But the idea is we'll create a flower for somebody, and then we'll send that flower as a gift, to a Twitch streamer or someone maybe in VR chats. It's just a 3D flower. Maybe we'll add more flowers, more stems, and more petals in the future. But today I want to go through the process of how I do my thinking through software development and how I kind of get things done at bigger companies. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a template. This template, this is an example of a template I've used. So you have a section for initial information, what kind of got you to start developing a new feature. Criteria to determine priorities is, what is really driving that you should do this. Business requirements, research, section, and then user flows and acceptance criteria. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this template and we're going to fill it out. And in the next video, we'll do wireframing after we've done the template. So the idea to developing a user story is to keep the intended feature and the scope down to the essential details that do really need to get done, because when you develop software, the scope can expand really fast and the scope can actually be reduced really quickly by limitations. And sometimes it's really hard to determine for honestly all stakeholders, all developers, all designers, and all executives, what is the essential thing we have to get in. And that's what product management is doing. It's just talking to everyone and saying, what is the essential piece of information and the essential piece of software we need to develop for this product or application. So let's look at Blooming for You. So I'm going to just take a screenshot because all users are very visual users. And when we develop the wireframe, we're going to take elements of screenshots in the software to kind of manipulate and create a story around that too. So I'm just kind of going to throw this here. Put that here. So first bit is Blooming for You is a software application where users can create gifts for other users. So as a user, I want to gift and collect flowers. Awesome. So that was the initial thought here, is that after I built this, I thought, okay, it's kind of cool. We can go ahead and see if the height extends it. Does this extend the stem? Yeah. See if the petal length there. So when I built this, I was like, okay, what would be really cool is if I could send an email off to my wife to get a flower or a picture of a flower or flowers, right? So that could be one benefit. that's what kind of initially as the initial information. So initial information should come from users and customers. So in a bigger software team or company, you have UX designers interviewing customers and compiling information into reports. They'll do one-on-one interviews and kind of ask them what kind of existing softwares do they use, what do they like about the current software of their current user, kind of getting that constant user feedback. Unfortunately, new applications and startups struggle to get early feedback. So really, any advice with any application, I recommend getting early feedback as soon as possible. Now, since this is a tutorial, it's kind of hard to go through the hours of interviews and honestly the hours of writing reports and creating connections. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing a startup, you're going to have to go out of your way to talk to people and say, hey, look, I'm making this. I really need your help. What do you think about it? And, people love to talk about and share their opinions. So, go out of your way to, don't sell them anything. The problem is a lot of people try to sell their startup rather than asking people what they really think. And, there's a great book called The Mom Test. And it talks about how, to give you the short of it, it's by Robert Fitzgerald here. I recommend reading this book if you ever get your hands on it. It's really amazing. It's really good. The thing is, a lot of customers are super nice, including your mom, who's going to be like, oh, I love your idea, son. And the thing is this book really helps you get deeper with customers and get to the point of what is really good about your idea, what's really bad about your idea, and kind of help you make improvements. Now, there's an idea where you could build the app for yourself. I think that works 100%. That definitely works. I think a lot of products are like that. I think a lot of indie video games are built for people building the games for themselves, right? They're not always thinking about other people. But I would say AAA games, like Concord and I think there was a Lego game by Sony recently that did really poorly. They don't think about the customer, and that's why they're not seeing users really flock to their game, unfortunately. And that's just how it is. Now, anyways, I wrote some initial information. Now, what's the criteria to determine priorities? This section's important because you want to ask yourself, is this the most important feature we need? Why do we need it? Right? And that's all you're kind of asking yourself here. So new features that drive, usability, like sharing our own creations with other users can be can be kind of what's the word, like an emotional kind of gift, if that makes sense, right? So the point is like I think this kind of behavior that we see from users, sharing is what is going to drive growth on the application. We'll just say platform for now. That's one reason. So driving growth. Another reason is users would love to keep the flowers they have received. So improving the overall. Oh, my head is in the way a little bit there. So let me move my skull there. Here. So improving the overall quality of the product or UX, so the user experience. So I would determine that's a priority for it. Other priorities could be like, oh, this is a bug. The user experience is really poor. Users get frustrated at this point. I think it's easy to assume that we're building this feature to make money or drive growth all the time. But that can be really a mistake because features that become confusing in their UX and their design can really lead to users using your product less, and it's harder for them to adopt, and it requires like a whole tutorial. So really, in a big way, you want to make everything easy. So one thing, like I said, like the mom test is an example of kind of figuring out how to talk to customers, right? Another thing about UX design you want to think about is Don't Make Me Think by Stephen Crud. This is another book I've read that I recommend to everyone to read here. It basically walks you through common sense web usability and web design. It's just not saying like this is a button and this is a form. It's saying like how do users really behave and think when they approach a web app for the first time. And that's a really important book to kind of learn, but sometimes generating features over and over again does not always lead to that result. I think being very specific about your intention matters here in the design. Now, business requirements can kind of extend and be a lot of detail. So the requirements for this, what I want to achieve is that, users need a way to save the flowers they have created and name them. Users will then need to be redirected to the collection page where saved flowers exist. The collection, let's create some space here. Collection will use card design with thumbnails so users can quickly recognize which flowers they have. Users then can click those thumbnails to load the flowers again to be viewed or edited. Okay, awesome. Users can select the flowers they have created and click send gift to other users. Now, the thing about developing a new feature is that if you come from a coding or a technical background, reading some of these statements might cause you a little anxiety, and you think, how am I going to do that? What does that look like? How will we handle things? And the user story should completely flesh out every question you had. So let's just zoom in a second and think harder about how would we code something like this. And I'll put it in parentheses, maybe. Actually, let me bold these statements to kind of make it easier to read here later. So users need a way to save flowers they have created and name them. So the first thing I think from a technical perspective is, if I go back to my app really quick, is that users have generated a unique looking flower of some kind here, and these are data points. So I have, let's say, data points for the function for this specific flower that is rendering, right? So the question is, can I save those data points? So anytime I'm adjusting petal length to 160 to 110, and I use 100 when I pass it to the petal length function on the back there, on the front end there. The next time it loads, we'll use these data points, right, to get the same exact flower that I've created before. Now, that's one method. So another question is, can the rendered flower be exported alone itself? Now, I think the downside to doing that is that I might not be able to go back in and edit afterwards. What if the user has created a flower but then wants to edit later, right? That was something I need to think about. But I'm going to go with the data points method for now because, we can take the data points. So like the user will click save, we take the data points and save them, like insert them into a database. So we'll have a user profile associated with a schema table called users collections, and a user will be like linked. It's not a literal link, but it's like a primary link, if that kind of makes sense. It's something I can explain later. It will be linked to those flowers, right? So those are the type of things that you want your user story to invoke a problem to be solved by the developers, right? You don't have to go to this extreme detail, nor does my developers most of the time. They don't want me to technically solve it. But you need to understand when you're writing this document, it's for someone else to interpret and think about how would they go about solving it. And then having an open conversation. A lot of software is collaboration. If you're not familiar with those soft skills like collaboration or working with somebody and resolving conflict, that's a really important skill for you to kind of get promoted up the ladder, becoming a more senior software engineer, programmers, that you're going to work with a lot of product managers and UI and UX designers who have a lot of, they have a lot of stake in the kind of the outcome of what you're building, right? And they're important because the customer's voice is coming through them to you rather than you going to the customer and trying to balance coding at the same time. So it's really a team effort. Now, that was just one example. I'm going to make short notes for these. So users will need to be redirected to collect a page where flowers exist. So we need page handling and a route functionality. Next.js handles this already. Not a problem. That's something developer may think there. That's what I think. I'm like, all right, we already have Next.js. It handles pages and routing. I don't have to worry about that. What I do have to worry about is when the page loads, right? So when the page loads, we need to check the user ID. What user are we loading? And then load all the flowers thumbnails. Now, when I wrote that out, I forgot earlier, right, that I need to generate the flowers thumbnails, right, to be used later on to be saved as another column in the schema table, right? So if you can kind of think about it like, oh, if I save this flower into my collection, I need to generate a thumbnail automatically through code and then save that as a column to be used later so I can view it in my collections page. So that's really important. So the collection will use a card design with the thumbnail so users can quickly recognize recognize which flowers they have. So then they load all the thumbnails and maybe there's the name of the flower. And then we need to add a hyperlink to that flowers page. So every flower we generate will have its own page that it can be loaded into, like a unique URL. And that's something I'll have to look into deeper because I don't remember how to do that, but possible. Kind of make unique URL objects. You know, when you go to, let's say, LinkedIn, for example, everyone gets a unique URL here, like a unique profile page. So I'll just go to somebody else's page. Adam Charlie here. This Caleb. Just every single one is unique, and you see these like numbers. So there's probably more than one angel out there, and there's like a 1, 2, 3 kind of thing going on. That's what I mean by that. So users can click those thumbnails and load the flowers again. So we need kind of the same thing I just said earlier. So, and then sending the gift to other users. So now what I didn't write out here and I knew about is that when I send a gift, we're going to need like a modal or a pop-up, or where it will ask them, who do you want to send this to? Do you want to send it to a Twitch streamer? Do you want to send it to somebody's email address? Do you want to send it to somebody's Steam account for VR chat? You know, a gift that they can open up virtually. So those are some general ideas, and that really does expand the scope, right? So like how to, you know, oh, okay, user clicks, send gifts, modal pops up, to send off to another user. Okay, great. Let me actually just submit this issue really quick so I can go into a better edit mode. Click edit. All right. Come back here. I think there's a preview mode. Yeah, can't edit in the preview mode. All right. Now, there's another section called research and empathize. So a lot of the UX research and usability testing will go here. And then, you know, you need to think about, you know, switch it around, think about what is the benefit or purpose for the customer. You know, really the benefit is that you're giving somebody the ability to make something and give it to someone else. It's just you're gift giving, right? You're giving a gift. You're giving a gift. I'll be honest, this is not an app that will blow up completely. This is not an application that will blow up because people giving a gift, a virtual gift randomly, is behavior you only see in Twitch. You know, people on Twitch, for example, will give you know, subscriptions or, you know, give things to other people. But something like this, where it's a virtual flower, it's definitely not enough. You know, somebody sitting down for a couple seconds to make something unique for you, right? And then sending it off to you. There needs to be more behind it, probably, like obviously money, right? I don't think I'll put that in here because it's just like an exercise, but you know, really the benefit is just the ability to give somebody a gift. I.e. gift giving. That's the benefit. It's a good feeling. Like it's a good feeling to give a gift. You know, that's really what it is. That's the benefit of them. And you know, making it easier to create something unique. You know, no one can really create a 3D flower without Blender, because Blender is time consuming unless you have that skill and you've done that, right? So that's obviously an improvement we have to make here. This is very laggy, as you can see, and there's a lot of issues with the library, and maybe there's different libraries we can use to generate the 3D flower. So usability testing would go here. This would be like a link to the video. Again, usability testing is just sitting down a user and spending time with them there. So All right, so I'm going to do the user story next. This will be like step by step. So I'm going to have to edit the video right here, and I'll be right back later. Hi, I'm back. So we're going to continue writing our user story here. So for this application for Blooming for You, we're going to write out the first step, which, let me just remind myself really quickly, users need a way to save flowers and create them. So step one, users created a flower inside the application. Users will make adjustments and adding background images to the flower, and they will name the flower. Autoed filled name will be put in place if user forgets to name the flower. Okay. User clicks save flower, or clicks sends gift. Send gift. You just kind of zoom in here a little bit so it's kind of better to read. All right, so when the user clicks save flower, it will save a flower to the collections page. Collections page are unique to that user. When user clicks and gift, it automatically saves the flower and sends it to the other user's collection page. Okay, so there's some vagueness here. The idea here is that when the flower is uniquely created, when I created something uniquely, right, whatever that might be, and I give that object to another user, we're going to literally take that, row of data and give it to another user in their own collection, right? So that's another thing to kind of think about deeper about, saving the flower, collecting it, giving it to another user there. All right. So step 3 will be, we're going to continue along to going to the collection. So I've saved my flower, where users are going to be redirected to the collections page. Users will see, users will be redirected to the collections page. User will see the flowers uniquely. You'll see flowers saved on their own. Users should not see any other flower collections, any other flowers from other users in their own collection. Another thought I've had is that what if we could share or visit other users' collections? It's like kind of seeing like, oh, look at all the flowers I've collected, kind of thing. That could be really cool too. That's something to think about there. So the user will be redirected to the collections page. Each flower that is saved will be represented as a card with a thumbnail plus title. Users will be able to click, we'll say that users will be able to hover over the card to see an animation to indicate to user that we are able to click the card. Users will be able to click the card. All right, now let's make this new step. Step 4, users will click a card, and I'll call it flower card. We'll click flower card and be redirected to the flowers card, to the flowers page. Two full users can fully see the flower, and we will provide 2 options. So here, once we go through the collection, just imagine we have like card after card after card, right? That can kind of all load. Should talk about how they load too. Is load flower cards will load endlessly. Kind of similar to when you go to it's like called endless scrolling, I think, if I remember right, but you can correct me in the comments. When I go to LinkedIn, right? Let's just go LinkedIn really quick. So if you see when I scroll all the way down, this little icon shows up and then more cards load. That's like endless scrolling, or what we kind of see in news feeds and like Instagram and Facebook. That's just that behavior is called. But when you click a card, we're going to redirect to a unique page for that flower, right? And users can fully see the flower, and we'll provide 2 options. So there will be edit flower option, and then a what is it? Send gift option. So we're going to create, at this step, we're going to create another unique flow. So we're going to just call this flow B. This is kind of user flow A here. So let me just do this. User creates flower and saves to collection. Great. Flow B, user edits flower after it's been saved. So here, user will click edit flower. This will change the state from the view state to the edit state. Right. User will make adjustments and click save and remain on the flower page. All right, great. So then 3, we're going to do the next one. C, user send gift, sends gift, clicking the send gift Great. So now step 1, user clicks send gift button. Then we're going to have a modal. User will see a modal pop up. We'll provide various options to send the gift to users. So some options we could provide is users will be able to type in Twitch streamer name, email address, and then maybe like a Steam account name. I honestly think the Twitch streamer and the Steam account name will be really difficult, so we're going to do this one first. Achieve this first. Then I think the Twitch one would be really cool to kind of be like, oh, I got a unique gift. Maybe we have to check out the Twitch API, see if there's anything there. If not, it's what it is. Account name, Steam API. Great. Generates Steam cards? Question mark. So let's say the user types in an email address. User types in email address. And clicks send. Now, we need to think about the other user receiving the card. There's two possibilities here. They have an account with Blooming for You already, or they don't. And what that means is that we will need to create kind of like a ghost account where the flower will live in a collection until the user with that email address accepts that gift, right? And that's where it gets really complicated, and we want to kind of like spell out what the user experience would be before coding that, because it can get really confusing without some guidelines. So users will receive the flowers via email. So, no matter what, you'll see these flowers pop up within like a email address, right? So let me just like create this really quick as an example. Okay, so here I would get the flower like this as a screenshot, and then there would be a hyperlink down here somewhere, and some branding elements for the website too. So let's go back. So users will receive flowers via email. A button will be provided or hyperlink with graphic elements to ensure trust in branding. Users can click to claim their flower. 5. Users who claim flowers. So there's two kind of things that could happen here. A, users will not have an account with blooming for you. Have an account blooming for you. So they will be asked to create an account with this specific flower name and picture. To obtain the flower once the account has been created. So this means that when they go to, claim the flower for their own collection, they will be redirected to a sign up page. And here I would say, please refer to the sign up user story. Now, user stories kind of function as sort of like a design document or PRD. For sometimes, not always, user stories can be really short, and they're used like as a task in Jira, for example. So that's one option. Option B, the user already has an account. We log them in automatically, and they see the flower on the flower page. And we're going to continue with user B. So user B user B will see the flower in their collection. Then they will be able to send flower as a gift to other users, or just keep flower. All right. So we've written the steps out, and then I think what we need to do is compile our acceptance criteria. What does it mean for this user story to be complete? What I usually do is I just kind of make some bullet points here. You can get a lot more technical, like it has to happen. Your acceptance criteria, like users have to receive flowers in 5 minutes or less. So the user story won't be done unless that happens. I think for the most part, you don't want to put these early restrictions in the beginning. Like once the app is more developed, I would add harder requirements. So I'm just going to do this. Only add harder requirements once the application has matured. Because any startup or early company that is working, they will kind of struggle to always meet these acceptance criteria. But for now, what we're going to do is just put in the basics. So if we kind of go back up, users create flowers and save to collection. Okay, that's one. Users edit flowers after it's been saved. Users can access flowers through the collection. Every flower has unique page. Flowers have to be associated with that specific user. All right, and I think users should be able to send gifts or flowers to other users. So I think that's that kind of covers the acceptance criteria. And then if we have any future ideas, for example, we could monetize this idea, for example. I don't think I would do that at this time, but let's think of some future examples, like a share button to X or Blue Sky, a share button to Instagram or Facebook. Adding, I think a definite a requirement we need is a user profile management flow. So that's another user story I'll develop off screen, because that can be, honestly, I'll just make another video for it. But this kind of, you kind of want to think collaboratively. So once we've created this user story in a real, in a real business, you would go over the requirements and the user stories and the UX research and watch the videos and have a discussion about what are the steps. So, I would collaborate with a UI or UX designer and say, hey, this is the story. Can you give me a wireframe? So in the next video for this, we're going to create a wireframe for this user story. And then once the wireframe is done, we'll create a prototype. And then once the prototype is finally done, we'll create issues on the development side to kind of do some system design thinking, and then finally build this feature. You shouldn't do this for a startup, because a startup, you're coding as fast as you can to get to the thing that people care about. But it's a really good exercise, I think, to take a step back and think about what you're building, what are the benefits, and what is the design when you work with 5 to 10 people. You're working on teams of people to get a few features done, and really the user story kind of grounds the team in what are we trying to get done and what are we trying not to get done. So, I would review this story with the software manager and kind of say, oh, you know what, this really expands the scope. We might cut out thumbnails, for example, or we would review this. So I would say email address, Twitch streamers, Steam account, and the software engineer will say, the Twitch streamer and Steam account thing, we can look into it, but we shouldn't have it in the user story. So I say, okay, no problem. We go back, we edit the user story. I go here and edit it. We'll have to do those things later in another task or another sprint, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. You don't need to do everything all at once, but you want to just get the essential version 1 out there, and get feedback from the team, get feedback from customers, and we'll constantly update this user story after we write the wireframe. And that should help with the UX thinking. There might be some gaps in here that you saw me building it that you've noticed and might think, oh, that would have been cool to add, or why didn't you think of this? That's what it's there for. It's kind of like if you have an art piece in a museum, right? And you've created an object for discussion, because software is very abstract and ephemeral. Believe it or not, people think it's like, oh, you write code, it's so specific. But once you get into software design or application design, giving what people want, that gets really ambiguous. And you have to get used to working with an ambiguous scope and ambiguous customer needs, and create an object for discussion for the customer and for the developers at the same time. So both parties can kind of come together and get what they need out of the process to move forward. If it's through a sales cycle or through a product demo, or it's a really useful object to kind of bring up and again throughout the organization. So yeah, that's it. So I would do this a lot faster, but I'm kind of going slower to show you my thinking and my framework. This is not how you need to do it, but that's the general gist of it, you know. And there's a lot of different methods and frameworks you can read into with user story development and agile thinking. And but this is what I have done. That really what works anytime I do a project with a lot of people. So I think that's it. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for this new approach. I'm not scripting my videos, just kind of doing them off of what I know. So please subscribe if you enjoy this. I'm sorry for the background noise. They are repairing my apartment right now.